Good day, everyone. Our topic for today is all about the mode of reproduction in animals. Last meeting, we discussed about the menstrual cycle. You have learned that the cycle is a process that prepares a woman for pregnancy. This cycle repeats itself for about 28 days during the reproductive year of most women. We say menstrual cycle is when menstruation or periods come regularly. When you have a regular menstrual cycle, it is a sign that important parts of your body are working normally. The menstrual cycle provides important body chemicals called hormones to keep you healthy. Menstrual cycle can be divided into four main phases. The first one is the menstrual phase, the second one is the follicular phase, and the third one is ovulation phase, and the last one is the luteal phase. This time, observe the pictures of animals. How do these animals reproduce? What part of the reproductive system work for the continued existence of their own kind? There are more than 100 kinds of animals that vary in many ways. So in this lesson, we will study how some of these animals reproduce. Specifically, you will able to differentiate the different modes of reproduction in animals and describe the different modes of reproduction in animals such as butterflies, mosquitoes, frogs, cats, and dogs. But before we formally start our discussion today, let's play a short game entitled Guess Me. All you have to do is to read and understand the riddles below and then identify what animal is being described in each riddle. For the first one, I lay eggs in water. I like to hop around. I'm green but I'm not a leaf. I have a long tongue but I'm not a giraffe. What am I? So the answer must be... Okay, it's a frog. Next, number 2. I start as a caterpillar. I go through metamorphosis. I feed on nectars, but I'm not a bee. I'm colorful, but I'm not a rainbow. What am I? Very good. That is a butterfly. Next, number 3. I bite and suck people's blood. I am an insect, but I'm not a spider. I spread disease, but I'm not a sneeze. I lay eggs in stagnant water during the breeding cycle. What am I? So the answer is mosquito. Next, let's now proceed to number 4. I have legs and tails. I am your best friend. I use my nose to sniff food. I get pregnant when the heat cycle period occurs. What am I? So, that must be dog. So let's now proceed to number 5. I have 4 legs. I eat fish if you feed me. I have just one, but with 8 to spare. I ovulate every 1 to 3 weeks with contact stage. What am I? So that must be very good. That is cat. But my question now, class, is how do these animals like butterflies, cats, dogs, frogs, and mosquito grow in number? So this is because of what you call reproduction. So what is reproduction all about? So reproduction, class, is the process by which an organisms reproduce another individual or offspring that is biologically similar to the organism. It involves the transfer of characteristic of parent to their offspring or young. During fertilization or meeting of the egg cell and the sperm cell, or the genetic material like DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid are shared by parents. Most of animals like cats, dogs, butterflies, and the like need a male and female to reproduce. Modes of reproduction in animals have divided into two parts. We have the sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. So what is sexual reproduction? So sexual reproduction takes place when a sex cells from two parent animals, one male and one female, unite to create a new animal through fertilization. The fertilized egg is called a zygote. In sexual reproduction, the gametes or sex cells of animals develops in specialized organs called the gonads. So we have here the female gonad and the male gonad. In male gonad, so that is the male gonad, the male gonads are called the testes. The testes produce male gametes called sperm cells. While in female gonad, the picture of female gonad is this. So the female gonads are called the ovaries. The ovaries produce a female gametes called the egg cells or the ova. So how about this fertilization occur? So fertilization takes place when a sperm cell unites with an egg cell. So the fertilized egg is called a zygote, which develop into embryo. So the embryo undergoes continuous development until it eventually grows into a newborn animal. So fertilization in animals class is divided into two parts. We have the internal fertilization and external fertilization. So let's now move how these two differentiate. So fertilization in animals can be internal fertilization. So internal fertilization happens when the male animals releases sperm cells into the body of the female animal to fertilize the egg cells. The examples of internal fertilizations can be a dog, a cat, a chicken, a bird, a zebra, a cow, a carabao, a goat, a rabbit, a pig, and many more. While in external fertilization occurs outside the bodies of the parents. The female releases eggs into the water or attaches them to a plant or rocks. The male then releases sperm cells over the egg cells to fertilize them. So, ibig sabihin, sa labas nabubuo or na-fertilize ang kanilang mga egg. And then, most fishes have what you call the external fertilizations. And another example is a frog. Sexual reproduction in animals class can be born alive. So what is this all about? So there are animals that retain and nourish the fertilized egg inside the body of the female parent. So the fertilized egg develops into an embryo that grows while receiving the nourishment from the mother through the placenta. So these are examples of born alive. Yung kalok-alike na nila agad-agad kapag sila ay pinapanganak na. And then, in this, the process is what you call gestation. The process of carrying or being carried in the womb between conception and birth. Next is we have the hatch from eggs. Or galing muna sila sa itlog bago napisa at naging isang newborn baby na. So animals that lay their eggs to the environment, the laid eggs by the female animals are developed outside the body. So these are the examples of what you call laying eggs. So the time between the laying of the egg and hatching of the young is called the incubation period. So we have the modes of reproduction in animals. So the first one modes of reproduction to be discussed is all about the butterfly. So paano kaya yung reproduction ng butterfly. So the mating begins when the male butterfly detects a female butterfly releasing the pheromone at close range. So yun yung unang-unang step, nagre-release si butterfly ng aromang tinatawag na pheromone. So when the female accepts the male attaches to the female's abdomen, injecting a sperm packet into her stomach that she stores until she decides to lay eggs. They will persist on a courtship flight during mating, which will last for an hour or more. As the eggs pass down the female butterfly's egg-laying tube, the sperm fertilizes them. We have a trivia here about butterfly. So female butterflies only mate once throughout their lives. But the male butterflies can mate more than once. So yung babae, limitado lang. Pero sa lalaki ay one to sawa. So about 4 days, a female butterfly lays from 100 to 300 eggs during her life. But only about 2% will survive as a result of a various environmental condition and other animals. So, once the females lay eggs and fertilize, she lay eggs on different plants, and these plants will provide food for the eggs when they become what you call caterpillar. So, this is a complete cycle of a butterfly. It will start from egg, it will move or it will proceed to larva, into pupa, and into adult. So that is the cycle of a butterfly. And that is what you call process of what you call metamorphosis. Next, number 2 mode of reproduction in animals is frogs. So all frogs reproduce sexually. The fertilization in frogs happens outside the female's body. So sa labas na de-develop. The female releases her eggs and therefore the male releases his sperm at the same time. So nagmi-meet yung sperm cell at egg cell nila sa labas ng kanilang mga katawan. So the male and the female get into a mating posture called amplexus. So yung ganyan na patungan nila, ang tawag dyan sa position na yan is amplexus. By climbing onto the female's back and claps his forelegs around her middle to ensure that the sperms reach the eggs. They will stay in this position for hours or perhaps days until the female releases as few collectively or as many as several hundred eggs. Number 3 mode of reproduction in animals is mosquitoes. So, reproduction by mosquitoes begins with the courtship. So, nagliligawan rin pala sila. During mating, the male deposits sperm into the female through a little pouch in her abdomen. Male mosquitoes only live for a week and don't have any purpose after mating with a female, so mosquitoes only copulate once. So once lang pala itong mga mosquito na nagmi-mate, nagsisiping. The female mosquito only requires the sex cells of one male for the remainder of her life to produce a few batches of eggs. Female mosquitoes lay eggs inside containers holding water. Eggs can hatch from some days up to many months after being laid. In just 2 to 3 days, the pupae transform into adult flying mosquitoes. Thus, the whole life cycle of the mosquitoes from an egg to an adult stage takes approximately 8 to 10 days. Number 4 modes of reproduction in animals is dogs. Dogs experience a heat cycle that lasts for 3 weeks. So that's 3 weeks. It is a period when they ovulate and might get pregnant, which is common every 5 to 12 months. So the first 1 week, so during the primary week, it is called the prostrus cycle. Yan yung first week. The female's vulva, or the outer part of their reproductive organ, swells and secretes blood and aromas that attract males. They act moody during this stage to both people and other dogs, swinging from affectionate to snappy, and appear to like to tease the males cruelly. They lift their tail to permit a sniff, but will bite the male's head if it tries to mount. So next week is the second week, that is what you call the estrus cycle. Her vulva now will still be swollen, but her vaginal discharge will usually stop having a visible blooding it. She will ovulate and is very ready for reproduction. So on the third week na, the last week, is what you call the distrus cycle, or the last stage being in heat. The female has already ovulated and is losing interest in reproduction. So the length of pregnancy in dog is 61 to 65 days, usually, with an average of 63 days. This means that about 63 days after a dog is impregnated, it will have its offspring. The female dogs should always be born, albeit with a smaller male dog. Next, last one is the cat's mode of reproduction in animals. Cats can go into heat at any time of the year, just like dogs, and they stay in heat for about 5 to 15 days. Reproduction begins through the estrus, or the reproductive cycle, when they reach puberty. The ovulation occurs until there is contact with a male cat. When in heat, they make more noise or meows louder and more frequently. They become much more affectionate toward people, wave in and out of their legs, rub against them, shake their pelvis and rolls on the floor, and flog their tail. Cat pregnancy lasts about 63 to 65 days. So as young as 4 months or 6 months old, a female cat can have kittens. So 4 months or 6 months pa lang yung cat ay pwede na siyang manganak. So if sexual reproduction need one male and one female to reproduce, in a sexual reproduction, it only needs one parent and no special reproductive cells or organs are involved. It does not need one male or one female parent to reproduce offspring. So, hindi niya kinakailangan ng isang lalaki o isang babae. Kahit mag-isa ka lang, mapaparami mo yung iyong lahi. A single parent organism simply makes identical copies of itself. Just like we have a budding, we have a process of regeneration, and we have a process of parthenogenesis. Let's proceed first to the first one, which is the budding. So, is a mode of asexual reproduction where the parent organism splits into two unequal parts. These organisms develop into small buds on the outer surface of the parent organism, just like this example, the planaria. The buds may break off and live independently or may remain attached to the parent, forming a colony. Budding occurs in hydra as well as in sponge. So look at this picture. Oh, di ba? Kusa siyang lumalaki or nagkakaumuusbong. That the process is what you call budding. Next, we have regeneration. Is the ability of an organism to regrow lost body parts. Simply, animals such as planaria, starfish, and earthworm can regenerate lost parts. So kahit maputol yung body parts niya, time will come na uusbong yan, na meron ng uusbong na body parts ulit. So that is what you call regeneration. The last one is parthenogenesis. What's this parthenogenesis all about? This mode of reproduction is usually found in female. The growth and development of their embryos occur without fertilization by a male. Parthenogenesis occurs naturally in some invertebrates just like species of wasps, bees, and ants. So that's are the examples of parthenogenesis. So, for examples in bees, the queen bee mates only once. She can then produce either fertilized eggs or fertilized egg. The unfertilized eggs become male drones, while the fertilized eggs become the female workers or the queen. So this time class, the modes of reproduction in animals can be classified into two. We have the sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Under sexual reproduction, we have classified them into two. We have the internal fertilization and external fertilization. Under internal fertilization, we have burn alive and hatch from eggs, while in external fertilizations, it only hatch from eggs. In asexual reproduction, we have three processes on how it reproduces. We have the budding, we have the regeneration, and we have the parthenogenesis. So, the reproduction of animals class is important for the propagation of their species. This time, let's now move to an activity. All you have to do is fill in the blanks with the name of animals having the mode of reproduction described below. A reproduction begins with courtship during mating. The male deposits sperm into the female through a male pouch in her abdomen. After mating and sucking down some blood, the female will rest for a few days to lay eggs in water swamps or anywhere with sufficient moisture. This mode of reproduction happens to mosquito. Next, number 2. Sexual reproduction begins when the male and female animals release pheromones or sexual stimulants into the environment. As the female lays the eggs, they are fertilized by the stored sperm and wrapped in a cocoon. This is how blank reproduce. This is butterfly. Next, number 3. Reproduction begins the stages during the heat cycle. The males are most fertile when fully mature. They act moody during this stage to people and show affection to their partner. When the female of this kind of animal ovulate, they get pregnant. This mode of reproduction happens in cats. Next, number 4. Reproduction begins through fertilization. The fertilization happens outside the female's body. Both males and females release their eggs and their sperm to the same time. The male climbs onto the female back and claps his forelegs around her middle, which mating posture called amplexus. This is how blank reproduce. This is frog. And then the last number, reproduction begins through the estrus reproductive cycle when it reaches puberty. This animal is likely to ovulate until there is contact with a male animal. The female animal becomes much affectionate towards people, waves in and out their legs, rubs against them, shakes her pelvis, and rolls about on the floor and flags her tail. This mode of reproduction happens in dog. Okay, let's now move to our assessment. All you have to do is to read each of the numbered items carefully, then choose the letter of the correct answer. Good luck!